Harry FRIENDLESS and Montecito. Oh yes, Meghan Markle has done a fantastic job separating the guy from his friends, his family, even various acquaintances who do not fit the Meghan Markle mold for who a friend is supposed to be. Basically somebody who worships her. If you are not that person, she doesn't want you in their lives in the slightest, because as it turns out, we've heard time and time again that basically every single one of Harry's friends and family members all told him Meghan Markle was bad news, and he decided not to listen to them. And as a result, Harry is basically adrift now in Montecito. And from the latest reports, it sounds like he really almost doesn't have a friend in the world anymore if they do not meet the approval of Meghan Markle. And I find that completely and utterly sad and tragic for Harry. And I think if this was another person in a different situation, if the gender roles were reversed, I think we'd be having some very serious conversations about what this relationship entails for Harry's mental health in many ways. For the guy who talks so much about mental health, destroying all your relationships with friends and family members doesn't sound like entirely a healthy thing to be doing. But that is Harry and Meghan. They are entirely a hypocritical couple. But I think it's very important to discuss Harry's lack of friendships here and to understand how really critical this is, because the aristocratic set, they're very, very unique. And that Harry has lost his relationships with nearly every single one of them speaks volumes about Harry and Meghan's relationship and really the toxicity of it. So we are going to discuss this today, but if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. I also have a newsletter, a fashion channel related to royalty, and a membership. So if you want some behind the scenes videos and extra content, you can head over there, and there is a link down below that you can click if you're interested in that. I have a couple of tier levels, and I also have a giveaway I have wrapped up, so I will be hopefully picking the winner here sometime very soon. It's one for one of these Anna Lucia jewelry sets. You might notice that my necklace disappeared and appeared, and that's because I was messing with my mic and and it accidentally fell in. So fun. I love my earrings as well. So if you're interested in any of that, there will be a link down below in the video, and you can save 20% off using the code and link. So if you guys are interested, feel free to check that out. And King Charles and Queen Camilla are wrapping up right now their Kenyan tour. This was a huge tour in terms of how they are resetting their relationship with the Commonwealth. It seemed to go really, really well. And the Duchess of Edinburgh, so Sophie, is actually currently in Canada, or on her way to Canada, and Prince William may be on his way to Singapore. I actually got a notification on my phone last night. I had a little bit of a freak out session because I had made initially arrangements to actually stay in Singapore for the Earthshot Prize, but I ended up canceling my trip because I had traveled so much in September. I just didn't really want to travel and go all the way to Asia because it's a long, expensive flight, let me tell you. And so, but he will be there starting on the 5th, and he will be there until the 8th for the Earthshot Prize, and it'll be like an Earthshot week. So it'll be a very exciting event. Kate Blanchett will be there, Hannah Waddingham, Robert Irwin, who is Steve Irwin's son, will also be there. So lots of people turning up, and this is going to be an event that continues to grow and grow year after year, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. It's a bit disappointing Catherine won't be there, but we obviously had the state visit from South Korea, the state opening of Parliament, just so many things going on. So lots of things obviously capturing the attention of Catherine and William right now, and apparently Prince George is preparing for some sort of grand test. So that is where she'll be. She'll be back in the UK, and hopefully we'll see her on a couple of engagements next week as well. Although I will know she won't want to compete with William, but I'm hoping Earthshot Prize gets a lot of fantastic coverage, and I'm sure many royal reporters will be heading over there very, very soon. But back to this report, because I found this very interesting, because we've had so many indications, and essentially because we don't see Harry ever really traveling to the UK very much, except for when he's forced to, or anybody traveling from the UK to visit him in California, is that he's really seemed to fall out with the vast majority of the friends that he had before he met Meghan Markle. And I think it's important to understand how the aristocratic set works, because it's very different, I think, even from the American, you could say, aristocrats, like the Hiltons, the Vanderbilts, a couple other families we have that are sort of similar, but not really. And that's because the aristocrats are a very closed off set. You can't basically make yourself an aristocrat anymore. You're basically born it or you marry into it. Those are the two options. Yes, some people get into those upper echelon circles, but they never totally push their way in. A great example is the Beckhams. Yes, everybody knows who the Beckhams are. They're wildly famous. They hang out with some of this set. But are they aristocrats? No. They can be as rich as you want, but you're not an aristocrat. It is a very strange thing in a way. You can be dirt poor and yet an aristocrat, because this set is all about protecting each other. So they don't really share any intimate details of their other friends' lives. They are very protective. And within this bubble, you can have your children and they can go to different play dates and everything. And nobody really shares that information because there is an understanding that yes, we all have various interests pulling at us, but none of us are going to go and gab to the media, let's say, as somebody who's maybe newly rich might do. Now, that might be a stereotype, but it's true because in Hollywood, you gotta think as well, is that everybody in Hollywood chats. And oftentimes it's the Hollywood people who are directly chatting with People magazine, like Harry and Meghan do. Anytime there's a quote from a friend in People magazine about Harry and Meghan, you can almost guarantee that it's either their staff members, a friend who was told to tell People magazine something, or it's Harry and Meghan themselves. When there's an article about Harry and Meghan talking about what great parents they are, I'm like, that's from Harry and Meghan. I'm sure they gave their friend the verbiage to tell People magazine. Yeah, they love being the parents of two. Now, heaven forbid, you won't ever see them with their kids, but they really, really enjoy being parents. They just don't want to ever parent their kids, huge glaring difference there. But it is a very interesting thing because I did do a little bit of a deep dive into the social media accounts of various aristocrats, and there's quite a few of them, and they all go sort of to the same schools, and so they grow up very much in this set. And discretion is key. That is what's valued in this community, is discretion. Discretion about relationships, who other people are, and everything. They want somebody who doesn't share the intimate details of their lives, who doesn't really go to the media with various things. Now, is it entirely possible some friends of Catherine and Williams perhaps go to the media from time to time on their behalf, maybe even under their request? Of course, that's entirely possible, but they only do that because they've been asked. They want to go up, let's say, let's pull out a name here. Let's say Skippy Inskip, who was a very good friend of Harry's. Has he ever talked to the media about his relationship with Harry? No. Will he ever talk to the world about his relationship with Harry? Probably not. His wife is an aristocrat. He's in that set, but not quite as the title. She was, I think, a lady, for blocking out her name right now. And there's like Susanna Warren, and her family, they were connected with the queen via their horses and everything. One of their father, I think, was the queen's like head horse trainer. So there's obviously a lot of connections within the equestrian community and royalty and aristocrats, because a lot of them have that same community. And looking at a relationship, let's say with Catherine and William and the Marquis and Marchioness of Cholmondeley, We'll do Cholmondeley. I think somebody told me one time and I totally forgot. And so this is the woman, her name is Rose. She's the one who has been accused of having an affair with William, basically completely and utterly baseless. And even though that's been an accusation and that's been living around the world for like several years now, has her and her husband ever commented on it? No. Will they ever comment on it? No. And the reason is because they value their privacy and they value their relationship, even as maybe not as great as it is with Catherine and William. They value it enough not to share something, and they are very high up. And the Marquis was very close to the royals. He's the one who often brought the imperial state crown in. I can't remember quite what his title was. I will probably remember and insert it here. Did I insert it? I probably did. And so that is his relationship. So again, there's this very close dynamic, and you can't be a middle class person and marry into the aristocracy. Catherine essentially did that. She's essentially middle class. I think there's maybe some sort of connection back in her family, but they managed to get into some of these upper circles based on where they were going to school. So they're not quite the aristocrats, but they were in the periphery of it. And Catherine even had a hard time getting into some of this set because, again, it's very, very closed off. But for good reason, because it protects everyone. It protects everyone, and that they can live their lives because they all come up in the media and the tabloids because their parent is famous, they're famous, they have a lot of money, they have this big house, all these sorts of things. And so they are all in the media, essentially in some ways since birth. Cressida Bonus, whose mother, lady, now I can't remember her title, Corazon or something. Anyways, her mother's an aristocrat, she married another aristocrat, and so she has siblings who had three hyphenated last names. And so she ended up being an lot of tabloids because she would go out with her sisters, she would go out with her mother, and the tabloids were following them. And I even had this old tabloid that somebody showed me, and it was about King Charles when he was younger, so Prince Charles, and the women he had dated, and one of them was Cresta's mother, who was mentioned there. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny, because the other thing is they all date within the same circle, basically. Now, yes, do they go outside it? Of course they do. But oftentimes the circles overlap in a lot of ways. And so they end up sort of all dating each other. But it makes sense because you can date someone within the lifestyle who understands the lifestyle, which is all very much not about flashy clothes, not about flashy jewelry. It's about being in the country, in the countryside. And there's a very threadbare part of being an aristocrat where they're just not flashy the way new money is. Old money, you can tell almost in the UK, is that they wear clothes until they're worn out, is one of the things. And that is again because they're not in it for the flash. The newly wealthy do that. It's considered sort of, you can almost say low class to be very flashy with your wealth. The upper aristocrats are very, very tame with it. And so that is the world that Harry lived in. And then smashes in Meghan Markle, and she hates every single aspect of that. Every single aspect of it. Meghan Markle wants to be flashy. She wants the biggest house. She wants people to kneel before her, basically. She just wants so many things that are just not a part of that set. And from the jump, she annoyed people. From the jump, basically. So I'm pulling this from Tom Bower's book, and I don't have, since I have it from the actual book, not like the Kindle or something, so you will just see pictures here, and I will read the text to you instead. But he says in one section here, which I find interesting, and I did a whole video on the Tom Bower book series. I think I had 3 or 4 videos. It says, those close to Harry believed that he had long harbored a fantasy to be told what to do by a woman. In his search for maternal sympathy, Meghan promised to be an understanding mother figure, as well as an adoring lover. For the first time in Harry's life, he was prepared to obey a woman to secure Meghan's loyalty. He would change himself to match her expectations. So this included not only himself and his activities, what he liked to do, but basically his entire friend set, his entire family. He would change everything to please her. And that's not a healthy dynamic. You should not have to change every single thing about yourself to please your partner. Yes, maybe there's some things where it's like, well, could you chew a bit softer? And it's like, okay, yeah, I'll just work on it. Like little things, but you don't change somebody's friends. They should be able to integrate. And yes, maybe you're not a big fan of someone, so you see that person maybe a little less, or maybe you say to your partner or your husband or wife or whatever, hey, yeah, go spend time with that friend. I'm just staying home. And that is perfectly fine and normal. Demanding that your husband can't see any of his friends anymore because you don't like any of them, it's just not a good sign. Okay, next quote we got here again from Tom Bower's book, and this was huge, and this is what sort of changed everything, is that Harry decided, hey, I love this woman. She is the greatest thing. She is just like Diana, which nobody in her family agreed with. Nobody in her family, except for Harry, thought that Meghan Markle was anything like Princess Diana at all. So they organized this shooting party, and apparently Meghan proceeded to offend every single person who attended. All his friends, all their girlfriends or wives or whatever. She proceeded to alienate and annoy every single one of them. So this is what it says. Like other shooting weekends, Harry was looking forward to endless banter, jokes, and a lot of drinking. He had not anticipated Meghan's reaction. Their jokes involving sexism, feminism, and transgender people ricocheted around the living rooms and dining rooms. Without hesitation, Meghan challenged every guest whose conversation contravened her values. According to Harry's friends, again and again, she reprimanded them about the slightest inappropriate nuance. Nobody was exempt. Harry's world would not be her world. Beyond Harry's hearing, his friends questioned Meghan's wokery. Meghan was a dampener on a party, they concluded. She lacked any sense of humor. Driving home after Sunday lunch, the text pinged between the cars. OMG, what about her, all capital, said one. Harry must be effing nuts. And she's a total nightmare, were others. So yeah, doesn't she sound like a bucket of fun? Doesn't Meghan Markle sound awesome? You know, every time you make a joke, she criticizes you for it and tells you how you're doing it all wrong, but yet can't offer a single other joke in comparison. I mean, she sounds annoying as all heck. Nobody wants somebody who's going to walk around a party and tell everybody how they're not doing it correctly. That's just obnoxious. And that is just somebody who has no single sense of humor. Meghan Markle is a humorless person. She's not funny. When she tries to be funny, it comes off as so contrived because she can't have fun. Because one of the things we've found out as wokeness has infused the culture, even comedians have talked about this, is that things can no longer be funny because you can't say the joke anymore. The joke about blondes you can't say because you might offend the blondes. And yes, some jokes are always in bad taste, 100%. But if you can't make fun of the situations that people live in, if you can't make fun of certain things, then the life is kind of humorless, because jokes work because they're based in an element of truth. Now, are all blondes dumb? Of course not. But am I offended by dumb blonde jokes? No, why would I be? That's just dumb. But Meghan Markle, again, she is somebody who is so conceited in her own narcissism, so consumed with herself. She cannot see beyond that. She is always going to criticize anybody who does not see things the way she does. And Harry was just vulnerable in a lot of ways, and also just desperate for a woman's attention and desperate for a woman to guide him. And that's just not a healthy dynamic. Again, you should have a partner, not a mother. Harry wants a mother, and that's essentially what he got. I mean, she still mothers him to this day. And perhaps he does appreciate it, but at this point, the guy is aimless. He has no purpose in life anymore. He is a dad, yes, but we don't really see him out with his kids much. I hope to goodness he does. We see him take his dogs outside. We've seen that many, many times, but not the kids. And so you just really begin to wonder, what do these people do all day? And what is Harry's purpose? He has a ceremonial role with the Invictus Games, a ceremonial role with Better Up, which is a tanking company, a failing brand, a deal, massive multi-million-dollar deal that got cut. Netflix is probably going to get cut. Yes, his book did well publishing, but did it really help him? No. And so what is this guy doing all day? I don't think he has a purpose. I don't think he has a purpose. And Meghan has stripped that all away from him because she wanted to follow her Hollywood dreams. Meghan Markle has always been obsessed with Hollywood. She's always wanted Hollywood fame and fortune. There was actually an article that came out today, and it's from a magazine called Closer, which I think is an Australian celebrity gossip magazine publication. So it's not the best source, but it does say that Harry and Meghan are very annoyed that all the A-listers still want to talk to Catherine and William and not them. I'm like, well, yeah, you dummies, they have actual power. You're a joke. You took a title from the UK, crapped all over it, came over here and expecting everybody to worship you. And the rest of Hollywood's like, yeah, no, you gave up something awesome to be just like us. That was Harry and Meghan's great flaw in all this. They thought if they could go to Hollywood, they would rule it. But as it turns out, Meghan Markle's not talented as a producer, an actress, a director, anything. And so what do they end up doing? They look like a joke because they took the title and they ran over here thinking would make them the upper echelon. When Hollywood got a good look at them, they're like, you know what? Not only are you not really like us here in the upper stratosphere, you're actually even below that. So you're still that B, C-list actress tier, now just with a fancy title to make people pay attention to you. That's all you've gained through your marriage, essentially. And that's what this whole dine and dash situation with the monarchy has revealed to most people, I think, is that Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan, just never had the talent to really do what she's attempting to do now. And that she really should have stayed in the monarchy longer, learned the ropes, actually been a good royal, and then maybe they might have had a chance or stayed longer or something. But she's not Grace Kelly. And she's not even Queen Margrethe of Denmark, who helped produce a recent series for Netflix, who created costumes and sets and scenery and everything. Meghan Markle doesn't even have that much talent. Meghan Markle is somebody who is desperate for fame and fortune, but refuses to do the hard work to make that happen. And her relationship with Harry's friends, I think, reflects somebody who doesn't care about anybody else but herself. It's all about Meghan Markle, always and forever. So it also says, over the following weeks, Harry's friends agreed that he was rushing too fast towards marriage, uneasy about the influence on Harry of the woman who had suddenly walked into their lives. Their instincts warned them to beware of the intruder. Several shared their fears with William. Skippy Inskip, Harry's best friend, was among the first to tell Harry to be cautious. Best to be sure, he said. William spoke next. "Don't feel like you need to rush this," he said to his brother. "Take as much time as you need to get to know this girl." After all, he had known Kate for 8 years before he proposed. And Skippy Inskip paid for that comment with his relationship with Harry. He was invited to the wedding ceremony, but not to the reception. And all of the Hollywood bigwigs and guests, of course, they all got invitations to the reception. But Prince Harry's best friend, the guy who had been with him throughout their whole schooling, had gotten into trouble together. He was there in Vegas. Like, Skippy Inskip was a huge part of Harry's life. And he was essentially completely cut out. And Skippy Inskip, for everything that's happened, has wiped his hands of Harry in many ways. I don't think his daughter, like Harry wasn't even the godfather of his daughter, and that was a pretty huge thing because royals are obviously very sought after people to be godparents. But at this point, Harry has damaged that relationship so much that he may never ever recover it. And I think that's so incredibly sad because they were so very, very close. But that's the toxicity Meghan brings to situations because remember, Meghan has fallen out with essentially everyone in her life. Her father, her sister, her brother, her extended relatives, her college friends, some of them high school friends, all these sorts of things, co-stars. She's fallen out with essentially everybody in her life that does not follow her strict code of whatever that is, of basically telling Meghan how wonderful she is. And if you ever give a hint to Harry or herself that you're like, well, maybe, I don't know if you guys are all that compatible, because I personally don't think Harry and Meghan have anything in common as a couple. They have nothing in common. Nothing. And because of that, I think they're struggling a lot right now. They're struggling a lot. Harry's aimless. He's in a country he doesn't know. He can't go back to his country. He has no relationship with his family. He has no relationship with his friends. This guy is just cut adrift, and Meghan Markle was the one who made that raft and set it off to sea. That is what she did because she wanted to fulfill her own dreams instead of caring about Harry, his relationship with family and friends, and others. And here's what we got from Phil. He is somebody who has large connections within the royal fold, but at the same time, I'm not totally convinced, but I do think a lot of this rings true. He says, "I get the impression he hasn't got a circle of drinking buddies he can unwind within Montecito, which has a population of older people, and I'm sure that takes its toll. Not only has he lost his family, his royal status, and military connections, but he's also lost a lot of friends." He said, adding that there has been a massive cost for Harry leaving home soil, and now he is dependent on Meghan Markle for his social life. And that is exactly how she wants it. That is exactly how she wants it. She wants Harry dependent on her for everything. And that's how she set up this dynamic. And again, I think if the gender roles were reversed, we'd be saying this is sort of an abusive relationship because in no way is it ever healthy for somebody to disconnect from all of their family and friends. That's just not healthy, especially if somebody in a relationship is demanding that of you. That is controlling. That is not good. That is not good. Now, we don't know the intricacies of the relationship, but I would say if I saw my sister or somebody else in that sort of relationship, I'd have some real concerns about their safety, their future, what's going on in their personal life and everything. I would be concerned. And I think we should all be a bit concerned for Harry too, because nothing about this screams healthy. So this is from Harold Grant, who apparently worked for the royal family for a number of years. It also says that Harry has cut ties with all of the friends he once shared with William. I know quite a few of Harry's friends who don't hear from him at all now. And because again, Meghan forced Harry to cut ties with William because William did not like her and told Harry he needed to slow down. Ergo, everybody connected with William now must be cut off because if William doesn't like Meghan and he's told other people he doesn't like Meghan, well then that's a threat to Meghan. Again, all of this is so diabolical. It's really quite scary. And again, that needs to be discussed a bit more. And he also goes on to say the Duke was famously a no-show at his friend Jack Mann's wedding in July, despite him being in the wedding party at his own nuptials. The Sussex's absence came as a surprise to guests, especially since Mann, who is a longtime polo friend of Harry's, appeared in the Band of Brothers photo at Windsor Castle on May 19th, 2018. man who reportedly known as Harry's unofficial best man, has remained tight-lipped about the guest list since the Duke's absence was pointed out. And according to Harold, the same can be said for Harry's relationship with his brother after the pair were once the best of friends. They were both very social boys, Harold said. And that's what's so sad about it now, how they've gone from best of friends to non-existent, really. They have become so distant. And again, we see two things here: Harry's separation from everyone, and also the aristocratic set type-lippedness. Despite Harry perhaps dissing the invitation to Man's wedding, he's not going to say anything about it. Because again, all the aristocrats value discretion. And that's why also Harry and Meghan, I think, have been shucked to the winds in many ways, is because Harry's friends also can't trust him. Not only has Harry separated himself, but his friends have also separated from him because they can't trust him and they can't trust Meghan Markle. Because Harry and Meghan are more than willing to throw their own family, who most of these aristocrats all know well and all trust and appreciate and have probably good relationships with, but they can't trust Harry now because Meghan Markle has made it all about herself. And so they have to take a step back and they have to step away from Harry as well. So it's twofold. Not only is Meghan separating Harry from his family and friends, but his family and friends must also separate from him because of what Meghan Markle has done to his life by turning it into a sideshow train wreck. That is what she's done. And because of that, Harry has both cut off and been cut off from people. And I just find that exceptionally sad. So guys, let me know what you think about Harry being friendless in Montecito. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.